All right, let's see if we can get up.
We're live, Judge.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. It's now 10 a.m. We're here for the regular session of the Hunt County Commissioners Court. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and stand for prayer and pledge of allegiance. Our gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings you bestow on each and every one of us. And Lord, we just ask you to continue to give us the wisdom and the ability to do our jobs to the best of our abilities and all in your will. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, everyone. This morning we have Commissioner Hutchins, Monroe, Smith, and Harrison present. I'm Judge Stovall presiding over the meeting. Commissioners, you have the minutes from the April 22nd, 2025 regular session. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion to second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we'll have public testimony. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should conduct themselves in a civil manner. The Commissioners Court cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Concerns will be addressed by county staff. They may be placed on a future agenda or addressed by some other course of response. Do we have any? No, sir. Does anybody wish to speak to the court today? Being none, I'll close the public testimony. Daniel, I guess under the old business, we'll talk about that in executive session first and come back. Okay. Commissioners, under new business consent calendar, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Under action items B, approval of accounts payable.
Make a motion to approve accounts payable.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of line item transfers.
Make a motion to approve line item transfers.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of budget amendments.
Make a motion to approve budget amendments.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of payroll and personnel.
Make a motion to approve payroll and personnel.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 1. To celebrate and honor Mr. J.B. McNatt's 101st birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. McNatt. Ted, do you want to read the letter? Do you want me to read it? Or? Okay. Well, today you're going to present the flag, right? Okay. We have a flag that flew over the Capitol from Congressman Keith Self. In a letter to Mr. McNatt, it says, "It is with deep admiration and heartfelt appreciation that I write to celebrate your 101st birthday. Reaching this remarkable milestone is a testament not only to your longevity, but to the extraordinary life you have led in the service to our nation and your community. Your service in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II stands as a powerful example of courage, dedication, and honor. You answered your country's call during one of the most defining moments in history, and your bravery continues to inspire generations. But your legacy didn't end when the war ended. Over the years, your contributions to your community in Greenville and beyond have shown a steadfast commitment to making the world a better place. You embody the very best of the greatest generation, resilient, humble, and deeply devoted to the values that have shaped our country. Your life reminds us all of the enduring importance of service, sacrifice, and integrity. As to celebrate your 101st birthday, please know how profoundly grateful we are for all you've given and how honored we are to recognize this incredible moment with you. Personally, I've known Mr. McNatt for many years. I've lost count how many cars he sold me through the years. And how many times he got on to me as a kid running around with some of his boys. So it's always been an honor to know you, Mr. McNatt.
Mr. McNatt, this flag was flown over the U.S. Capitol, and thanks to the efforts of Congressman Self and his office in Washington, it is my honor to present this flag to you in recognition of all your service. To my knowledge, he is the oldest surviving veteran in Hunt County.
Jess, I'm gonna do a picture or no?
Thank you, Judge, I appreciate it.
Bobby, get a picture of y'all.
But,
Look up here so you can see how pretty you are.
Thank you.
but it was just an honor to be in World War II. I noticed this 2 or 3 days ago on the 8th, it was the 80th day of end of World War II, May the 8th. And I celebrate.
All right. Action item 2, discuss and possibly take action on the moving the Veterans Office location. Ted, you got anything else to add?
No, I did talk to Mr. Hitchman, the owner and contractor. He's working on the building. As soon as he gets that done and we get the key, IT will go in and get the wiring. You saw from the estimate that was a lot cheaper than
Yep.
we thought it was going to be.
Absolutely.
Hopefully by the end of the month, we'll be moving.
Okay. Daniel, we're changing that lease some, amending it or whatever. Have you discussed that with them? No, I think he did the lease last year, and last time we did it. You mean just get him to amend it to change because all it's changing is suite number.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. We can bring that back to the next board.
Okay. Can you ask him to do that and get with him? Okay. All right. So entertain a motion to approve this.
Make a motion to approve the move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 3, the quarterly interpretation discussion, the Hunt County Fair, Mary Shockley.
Good morning. I'm not Mary.
No,
She's our program assistant.
you're too quiet to be married.
Yeah.
Come and hold it up.
We had an amazing Hunt County Fair. We had over 70 exhibitors that you can pass that We had over 70 exhibitors that competed in the market and the breeding shows, as well as the creative arts contest, the livestock judging, and ag mechanics. We had 22 members make the Sale of Champions from all 5 of our clubs, and that's awesome. Some highlights from the week included Nate Grisham from Cattle Mills 4-H. He was the reserve champion Pen of Friars. Miss Erin Bill, who I have behind me, she's from the Greenville Club. She was the champion senior goat showman. Oscar Perez from Lone Oak 4-H was the champion junior Friar showman, and Mr. Connor here was from Commerce 4-H, was the champion junior heifer showman. Shelby Pullen from Cattle Mills 4-H received a $2,000 Phil Garrett Memorial Scholarship. And not listed on here, but she also deserves some recognition, Miss Castley Graham from Cattle Mills 4-H. She was the champion intermediate Friar showman. So we were so proud of those kiddos. We had multiple kids placed in the top 5 and top 3 of our classes, and I think that we had the top 3 in the senior goat showmanship. So just help me give these kids a round of applause for all their hard work.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Erin Beal. I'm from the Greenville Club, and Hunt County 4-H has enabled me to be an exhibitor at the Hunt County Fair. My goat placed first in his class out of class 11. He made sale, and I was a senior showman for the goats. Through 4-H, I've been able to meet so many people and have so many opportunities. Without y'all's support of this county, we would not be able to do this. I go to a charter school, so I do not have FFA as an option. This is my only way to get out and be able to show my animals and meet so many people. So thank y'all so much for continuing to support this amazing county.
Hi, I'm Connor. There we go. Hi, I'm Connor Myers, and I am with Commerce 4-H, and I am the second vice president, and I got 7th and made sale with my brothers this year. I got grand champion heifer showmanship twice, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Olivia Myers. I'm 13 years old. I got 6th place with my swine this year. Even though I didn't make sale, I still found a way to market him off. I got reserve grand champion with my Simmental heifer.
Good for you.
Hey y'all, my name is Camden Matthews. I'm from Cattle Mills 4-H, and 4-H as an organization has helped me grow and come out of my shell a lot. I've got to have a lot of unique opportunities, especially because I've been in 4-H so long. I'm now able to help new members, and with Hunt County 4-H and Miss Mary and Miss Danelle and everyone else there that y'all help fund, we're able to work together and really become a big family.
All right.
My name is Logan Hall. I'm with Greenville 4-H. I showed market goats in the Hunt County Fair and placed 10th in my weight class.
My name is Layton Hall, and I showed market goats and placed 8th place in my class.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. Can we get a quick picture?
Sure. We don't break the cameras.
Okay, get this one, yes.
Here, I'm sorry.
I got
Thank you, guys. I got to run. Western Methodist had the nuts, they bus old people, and so I don't want to miss a meal, but I just enjoyed visiting with you guys. I just pray for my country today. If they call me, I go again. And it bothers me till this day. I'm not a hero. The heroes are still over there.
Amen.
The senior.
All right, I entertain a motion for the approval of the last presentation.
So moved?
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action item 4, the Treasury's monthly report for March 2025. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action item 5, to discuss the second floor of the Exchange Building. Greg? I guess for reference, for those that don't know, the county owns the Exchange Building, has for the last 10 or so years, I guess. And we've had leases, City of Greenville renovated and had leases with several state and local government entities. And as of May, the second and third floor has been the leases run out and they did not renew it to go to a smaller location. So we had the second and third floor now available. And Greg's here wanting us to lease it to his organization. And we hope we can.
Okay, got show mode. I don't know. Do you need to go to training? That's good. That's it.
Looky there.
Thanks.
You trained him well, Greg.
Thanks, John. Well, thank you, Judge and County. Greg Sims, Greenville Board of Development. Today we want to talk to you a little bit lengthy presentation, if you don't mind going through this to talk with you about it, because there's a lot of history involved with this. Project Workforce and Greenville Business Forward is what we call it. Presentation to you today by the Greenville Board of Development and Greenville Chamber of Commerce. Shelley is here. My chairman, Holly Gray's here. Holly, he's right back there. Appreciate Holly being here. Let's go ahead and go forward. I'll go forward, John. Thanks. I'll do it. Well, John, didn't work. How do you get to a big screen again? Here?
Do you need to go to class?
Yeah. That's why I have him to do this.
Well, you told him he needed to, so I just returned the favor.
Don't you have people do your stuff?
Absolutely. Me and computers don't get along at all.
Well, you had it. Now what do I do? Scroll. Okay. There we go. Got it. Okay, it's very sensitive. So, a little history real quick. So, the Chamber of Commerce building, you all know, probably been in there, many of you, for a long time. That site was originally the Carnegie Library site. If you remember back in the day, probably if you're from here during the time, it got torn down in 1954 though. But so you know.
The year I was born. I don't
remember. Yeah, I was going to say, you don't probably remember that, Judge. But that photo was taken January 1st, 1904, and I think they opened it in February of 1904. So that's a tintype photo down at the SMU library in somebody's archives collections. But that's the Chamber of Commerce site right there. And then this is a little modern. This was probably taken in the 20s or 30s, what it used to look like there on the Chamber of Commerce site. You know, isn't it a cool old building? I've got some articles here that I'll hand out to y'all when we get done, but it talks about the history. This is the history of the Chamber building and going back to 1954. And basically, just to give you a little summary, the Carnegie that spot was purchased by the city, and in the early 1900s, 1901, we didn't have a library. And so the Carnegie family was going, what they had a charge to their family, they wanted to educate American public that wasn't educated. So what they chose to do is send out grant money to citizens and cities who requested to build libraries. And they would ship books down here for people to learn. And so Greenville was fortunate to have Greenville National Bank president back in the 1900s wrote a letter based on, we had some families here. In fact, the Harrison family, who led up the charge to get the library system started in Greenville. Mrs. Harrison, way back when, in the early 1900s, had 200 books of her own, and she went to the bank president to send a letter to the Carnegie family, and within a week, they sent back, said yes, they would grant the money to Greenville to build the library. And so the city had to come up with some money of their own to build this, but the city actually owned the land and the building. And then it stood there from 1901 to 1954 serving the Greenville community. It got demolished, though, after that, because after 50 years in an old building that was built in 1901, can you imagine it was drafty, it was inefficient, it was smelled, it had probably mold in the bottom. I mean, who knows what's going on here. It was just in disarray. The citizens then said, we want a modern library. This old library, we don't want to go there anymore. We want a modern library. That's how the Harrison actually was first called the Greenville Library. New library on Wesley Street was built, which was now the Walworth Harrison Library now today. And it was built in the 50s. And so what happened is the Chamber of Commerce bought this building for a song from the city, and they bought the lot, and then they demolished it. The Chamber did. And then they built a brand new Chamber building. Well, I'll get to it. They built the brand new Chamber building that you'll see here in a minute. It's there today in 1954, 55. Which was a modern building back in the day. It was only 30-foot by 50-foot building. They only had room for 2 offices, a little boardroom, and a reception area. You remember this, though, Judge, 1965. Texas Parade magazine. I had an old magazine somebody gave me a while back. This is the flight line down at the airport. Gary, you probably seen some of these old pictures. Really cool, 1965 Texas Parade. Greenville at that time, if you remember the Texas Parade magazine that was in the Dallas Morning News when it used to come out every Sunday, we bought a publication. So the entire publication on Greenville, Texas is pretty interesting. I'm got that in my office. So there's a picture of the Greenville Chamber there. This is 1965, and you've got a family here being arrested by the deputy sheriffs here, and it says here, once a week during the summer months, a deputy sheriff arrests a carload of tourists on Interstate 30. They haul them to Greenville's tourist corral for an expense-paid weekend. So they would go out and pull families over on the interstate, bring them to the Chamber of Commerce, and say, here's a hotel for the weekend, please stay with us, and da-da-da-da-da. So pretty funny stuff.
Boy, you'd get in trouble doing that today.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's too. There it is today. That's the old building there, standing there today. And then it takes us to our presentation. So, what we would like to, we don't have a welcome center in town. So, a lot of tourists that travel through town, where do you go? If you travel yourself, you see a lot of welcome centers around different towns, that sort. And so the idea has spurned that, maybe we need a welcome center. And then the Greenville Chamber building the reason it was located where it was, quote, it was on the major highway coming through town. So, it was coming north-south, and in the day when those were still state highways, y'all know out there. But also, we need a place for workforce training. We need a workforce training center, and also small business development that meets at the chamber building once a week or so. And so this is a vision for small business development future of Greenville, Texas. This is turning the page, just like the citizens did the Carnegie Library, and they did the chamber building and the new Harrison Library. This is turning the page to the next generation. So I'm going to let Shelley come up here and talk to you about the rest. Shelley? Huh? Scroll.
Shelley with the Greenville Chamber of Commerce, the president and CEO. So I just kind of want to go to the next one. How do you do it?
Next one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me talk about this.
Okay.
So welcome centers, when we talked about welcome centers, Travel Alliance Partnership, which is a kind of a nonprofit organization for tour operators, they put out a statement about welcome centers. Welcome centers created to provide travelers with helpful information. They provide suggestions on things to do, aim to convince visitors to stay a little longer instead of arresting them on the highway. Visitors often need to seek centers for get brochures and maps, just an information center. Over time, welcome centers have changed visitor habits. So that's welcome centers. You want the next slide?
And by the way, our building was built in 1954, but the Greenville Chamber of Commerce has been around since 1913. So this would be a welcome center, information, starting a business. People would come in. We would have workforce training, tourism, where he said people could get brochures and flyers about where to visit in town, where to stay and play, and what to see and do. Of course, these are some of the things we do. It would be a meeting place. It's big enough to have networking, business after hours, so a group of people could come and share ideas. Of course, we do ribbon cuttings. That's very popular. We usually go to people's place of business. However, people that have small businesses or home businesses, we would have them at the Chamber of Commerce, so this would be a great place to do inside. In front of branding. There is several rooms in there. One of them we would like to do an area where you could go and have meetings for small businesses. One of the things we have is a small business development center, houses out of our office. So they would have their own office, and then they would have their own little boardroom that they could actually have people come in and meet together. Right now, we have to share our boardroom that we're doing. So that would be very convenient. Of course, one of the most important things is Workforce Training Center, providing off-site workforce training space for company employees. And so, again, people could come, businesses could come for workforce training. Here's the boardroom. This is just an example. It does have a very large boardroom. Right now, our board has around 20 people on it, and we cannot meet anymore at our Chamber of Commerce, so we have to rent the Civic Center once a month to have our board meetings. And so this building here has a boardroom that could probably fit about 50 to 75 people in it. So we wanted to have our, come back to the chamber, have our board meetings. GBOD would have their board meetings, and then people are always asking us if they can come and meet in our board, different businesses, and I always say yes, as long as you have less than 20 people, because you're not going to fit in there. Also, too, it would be set up so that there would be like a desk for board members, but also we could separate the tables and have like small business trainings in there. Especially since it fits 50 to 75 people. Right now, if we do any lunch and learns or anything like that, once again, we have to rent the Civic Center. Of course, inside we would have redo it, interior design. Our goal is to also have like logos, branded logos of different businesses in town inside. We would have tourism opportunities for visitors. Right now we have a very small space, can't put very much in there. We have a counter that we have to put lots of things on just because we don't have the space to put flyers and things like that. So in this area, we would have a larger space to put all our tourism. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Greg. And this is the Exchange building, and we would be on the second floor.
Thanks, Shelley. So, yes, what we're talking about is the second floor of the Exchange building. The Board of Development operates on the 8th floor, and we're not talking about moving. We're going to continue to stay on the 8th floor. This is the second floor landing when you come up the elevator, and the parking garage to the back where the staircase that comes down to this area. And the city renovated this building in 2005, 4, 5, 8, something like that, somewhere in that period. And then sold it to the county, 6 years ago, 5 years ago?
I think it's about 10. But
10 years ago now?
Yeah.
Time
5 to
flies.
10 years.
So those doors there to the left used to be the Texas Workforce Center, and those doors open and when you come off the second floor landing, and they go right into this space right here. And this is what the space is from those doors. And it has this opening here with 2 offices on the left, a little alcove on the left, and a reception desk. And then this was y'all remember the old National Bank building the National Bank was there. It had where that reception desk, I think, where the escalator went down to the bottom floor where the tax office is.
Close to there, yeah.
Yeah, close to there. So anyway, that's kind of what we have today. Then you have the restrooms that are available there. This is looking back from the reception desk back towards the door. You can see the 2 offices there. So this area here is what we want to turn into the Welcome Center. So when people come up, they would come to the reception desk there, visit about things, find out where things to do. This little alcove to the left of the reception desk is where we could put in the big brochure racks on both walls, tons of wall space for brochure racks for things to do in Hunt County, Greenville, that sort of thing. Maybe have a little buffet table there with some free coffee if you want it, sign a guest book type of thing. Reception desk that overlooks the tax office. This is looking back into basically the Chamber of Commerce space that we would say, and the Workforce Training Center. So the Workforce Training Center would be back behind these doors. This is looking into that, I just walked into the doors there, or the opening there, and looking back into the networking area back in the middle there. Call that kind of the pit or the networking area. Those current furniture there today is owned by the Workforce Commission.
No, it's owned by us.
Oh, it is? Okay.
They left it and gave it to us.
Got it. Thank you.
Everything they left is ours.
Is the county's?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. We didn't know. So this is looking back down the hallway towards basically the brochure rack area there with the reception on the right and the county furniture. This is more of the pit area from a different angle. This is the boardroom. So this is a big boardroom. It, like Shelley described, it has a dividing wall. If you've been in there, it has a temporary dividing thing. You can do a couple meetings a piece. You can do a big meeting. Works great for workforce training. John heads up our business retention and our workforce, as y'all pointed him to the Texas Workforce Board, North Texas Workforce Board. We can set up classroom style with those movable tables and chairs. We can do a boardroom setting. We can do a lot of things in this room here. And board development has no space for that as well. Another look at that from the 2 screens. It actually has 2 screens if you wanted to do 2 modules of training. Another look at that area there. This is a hallway that overlooks the tax office. Hallway goes down to another office in the back that could be an SBDC office that has its own little meeting table where he sits down with small businesses, people wanting to start a business. That's a look back from that office. This is what the elevator looks like today. Thank you very much for the elevators. Those elevators are awesome. I mean, we never have a problem. I only got stuck in it twice in the last 10 years. So, it's awesome. So, and I'm a big guy. And when the firemen show up, they're like, oh my God, look at this guy in here. So thank you for doing that. But the flooring was put down by the county, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. I may be wrong on that too, Judge, but it's all scarred up. So, with all the work that they performed on the elevator, they were in and out with a tool cart and all this stuff and tools and everything. It just got scarred up. And it's just typical. That's that vinyl plank, vinyl. So this is the hallway again. This is kind of what we'd like to do. If this space, if y'all allow the 4A EDC to lease the second floor, we would redo this floor that's currently there that was put in over 20 years ago. And we would, I would ask that you allow us to match the elevators. So we just, whatever floor we put in here, we'll match the elevators. We'll pay for that too. And then as you walk into the Welcome Center, we would put that in there so you'd have a nice walk-in. The carpet in there is the worst. It's stained very severely. This is kind of what we're talking about. So to your right of the reception desk, you'd have Greenville Chamber of Commerce Workforce Training and their own doors. So you would go in and out. There's a door jamb there, but the doors are missing. We don't know where the doors are. So, but I think Shelley would like to put in some sort of industrial type architectural doors like that. It also, this area needs a kitchenette. It doesn't have a sink, refrigerator, things like that, a desk, countertops, nothing to do any type of meetings there in that sense. That's the staircase I just took a picture of today. This is notoriously dirty. It's open to the elements. The water gets in there. Crickets get in there. It needs to be painted. The walls need to be painted. The rails are just horrible. It looks like that the staircase used to had probably carpet on it, glued on it. You can tell where the glue kind of came up. This was done years ago. So what we kind of would like to do too, we would help fix this area up too, is kind of put in that, the concrete, where you put in the garage floor where it has the sand, so people for slip proof. Redo that in concrete, have the walls painted, have the rails painted. So we would make a nice entry feature from the garage as well. On-street signage, how do we find you? So this is the Lee Street opening entrance. So you have this big wall. So we would, suggestion that metal signage gets put on the building that says Welcome Center, second floor. All these things are on the second floor. The Chamber, the Small Business, Workforce Training, and Visitor Center. So something like that. These are all just ideas. So, okay, I think that's my last one. So last thing I'll say, Judge, is this is subject to, if y'all would allow us to do this, we would currently, the Board of Development lease on the 8th floor, we have it expiring at December of 2030. So what we'd like to do is join with the Chamber of Commerce, where the lease would be in the 4A Board Development name Board Development name for the entire second floor. So we would request that we just can pay what the workforce was paying, so you don't lose any money. We'll do the renovations that need to be done. And then, we would propose that we would sign like a 5-year lease. So both leases would be consistent with the timing. But I think the Chamber would like to do like a 5-year lease. So they will probably either lease their building or sell their building, what do they want to do with it, and they'll have some income to help pay back the Board Development on some of the cost involved with this. And then sooner or later, what we'd like to do, I've got to get approval from my board. I don't have approval for this project, expense of this project, but I have talked to my executive team, which are 3 members, and I've showed them the space, and they're in favor of it. So just need 4 votes. But we see this as the next phase, the next stage of business development, tourism, Welcome Center, that the county can be involved with this as well. All things to do in the county. We're not saying this is only Greenville. So, there's lots of other things to do in the county. You got Lake Tawakoni, you got up north, Celeste, all the stuff. But anyway, that's our presentation. Our deal would be to ask y'all to, after we get approval from our board, if y'all are, kind of in agreement, I can come after this meeting and go, I think we're good with that. Daniel can talk to us about it. And then I can go to my board and ask for permission. Shelley goes to her board, ask for permission. And then we can come back and hopefully vote on it. So
when's your board meeting?
It will meet in, the next one is in May. Let me look. May. June 12th. That's right, John. Thanks. We just met. June 12th, Judge.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thanks.
We'll discuss it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully before your next meeting, we can have you an answer back.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you for looking into it. Thank you.
Bet.
If you have any questions, let us know.
Commissioners, y'all got any questions? Yeah. Before you get away? Don't let him get away.
So just kind of, if you would just restate for me, who all would be located in there?
It would be the Chamber of Commerce would be operating out of there. They would be locating in there as well as the SBDC. Okay, so Chamber would be in charge. We would lease it, the whole facility, and then sublease it to the Chamber.
Okay.
So the Chamber would be operating it. Shelley would be in charge of operating the Welcome Center, operating the SBDC, the Chamber, all of that, and their board. Okay. And then we would work out agreements with them to say we can have our board. We have to have our board meetings on this certain date. They have theirs on their dates. Things like that to use the board or workforce training. John would work with them on that. It's a combined thing.
So everything would be, it'll be the chamber and then they'll coordinate other entities.
They're going to be coordinating everything, yeah, and, under their board umbrella. That's true. Yes, sir.
Is small business still kind of overseen by PJC, or is it totally by the chamber now?
Yeah, so the SBDC is a grant through the Parish Junior College.
Okay. And they have people that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
They meet in our office about 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay.
And Shelley, is that open to businesses countywide?
Yes, any business in the county can make an appointment and meet with them free of charge.
When's y'all's next board meeting, Shelley?
Ours is May 27th, before his.
What will happen to the old location?
I don't know, it'd be up to our board, so would like to sell it, so.
And being on the second floor, y'all have any? Are y'all not concerned about after-hours functions? Do you think it's going to work fine for
We
that?
normally have after-hours functions at other businesses.
Okay.
But we would love to have an after function at ours, just to, everyone to see the place. But we do host a lot of business before hours.
Gotcha.
At our place.
We can get the building after.
But in your assessment, it's well suited to that purpose?
Yes.
We think so.
Judge, this may be a question for you. Is there any dedicated parking that goes with that?
Nope. It's all wide open.
We have 4 spots in the parking garage. That was before when Workforce was there. They were just covered up the garage. We couldn't find a parking spot. So under our lease, I have 4 spots for Board of Development. So.
Well, I didn't know that, but y'all are the only ones probably that have it, because it's just kind of
Yeah.
park wherever you can.
Yeah, we had to, it is park wherever you can, but, we had to have that when we get not bank, you get industrial prospects in, if they want to come in, we have signs that say, hey, park there if it's full. We've had that since the carryover of the Workforce Commission.
And now Workforce has moved out, there's a lot more available parking in that garage.
Oh, a lot more available parking and a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
So curious, when you say a lot more, 5 spots or 50 spots? 15, 20? Because after hours would be easy, right? Downtown and everything. I was just curious about if you had large training classes, things like that, happening during the day when other activities are going.
It'd still be like if you had a festival or anything like that. It would just be parking wherever you can find. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Their garage is never that capacity. No. It's about, we had jury members that park over there on Monday. They come over.
Well, a lot of that traffic is slowed down because so much online now, I believe. I know that Workforce was doing a lot more online, and the ones on the upper floors also do a lot more online than they used to.
Yeah. Workforce, when it was there, it got a lot of pressure. People pressure, car pressure, trash pressure. It was a very well-used building, but since they left, it's not, there's a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Greg, I normally associate visitor centers, kind of first story type setups, but it sounds like y'all have plans for pretty prominent signage just to make sure people can find it easily.
Yeah, and this is not to, This is not to replace the City of Greenville's Convention Visitors Bureau. So at some point in time, they want to have their own, I think, CVB. We've talked to them and said, hey, do you want to come over here and join with us on this? They said not at this time. I think they really want to go over to their new sports parks building they're building. So they'll be like the real tourism CVB who puts on festivals and puts on, all the things necessary related to real tourism. This is more like,
brochure rack, visitor center. That's what the chamber does right now.
But once again, people come in every day, all day long, picking up information on where they can go
Yeah.
and visit.
And this having the public restrooms available, that you can, if you're coming off the street, you're walking down there's lots of tourism that walk down Lee Street coming from the winery, or they go down to the restaurants or the shops, and hopefully they'll see this. Hey, visitor center, welcome center, they come in, we tell them second floor, and then we have some coffee, and you have, refreshment, whatever.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Anything else? Thank y'all. All right. Action item number 6. The city of Kettle Mills will discuss a possible ESD. Yeah. No, you're retiring.
I drew the short straw today, so I get to speak. Good morning, Judge Stovall and Commissioners. Joel Richardson, Assistant City Manager, Kettle Mills. I just wanted to briefly discuss with you today an issue that I think we are all familiar with, but want to bring to your attention. Our volunteer fire department in Kettle Mills. Of course, we're really proud of them. They're one of the best in the state. They're currently working a service area that's one of the largest in the area, and 60% of their calls are outside the city limits, but obviously the bulk of their funding comes from the city of Kettle Mills. So we've gone to a situation that's untenable, that we're going to have to make a decision, a way to go here. The way we're going now, as far as funding, is not going to be feasible. The county puts in some funding to the fire departments. The hospital district does a nominal amount, and the rest of it comes from the city. But we're looking at options that are available to be able to continue to give the level of service that we're doing right now. One of the options is to pull back and just service the city of Kettle Mills city limits. Other towns in the area have done that. We don't really want to do that, but my family, Matt's family, a lot of the firefighters live in the county, so you would be basically going to the city limits and stopping, which we don't really want to. That's not something we want to set precedent on. The other thing we're considering is ESD, Emergency Services District, which we've talked to some of you before about. We think that's probably going to be the best option. Of course, it's sometimes contentious in these some of the surrounding counties have passed it, some of them haven't. But we're working with a gentleman I'm fixing to bring up, Clay Avery, with SafeD, which is kind of the state ESD consulting group. And he's got can answer any questions, and got a small presentation he can kind of talk to you about. So,
all right, thank you, Joel.
Howdy, how are y'all? Can you hear me all right?
Great.
I am Clay Avery. I'm the Executive Director of SafeD, the State Association of Fire and Emergency Districts. Are y'all familiar with TAC, Texas Association of Counties, or County Judges and Commissioners Association, which is kind of an offshoot of TAC? We're what they are for counties and county judges and commissioners. That's what we do for ESDs and ESD commissioners. So that's what my organization is. I do want to say, we go to some of those conferences. I don't know if y'all have been to some of those CJCAT conferences to get your mandated training, and those are usually certified by the VG Young Institute of County Government. We actually get our ESD commissioner training certified, so they're at A&M. So I always, when I'm making these presentations, I know some may be Longhorns in here, but we gig them because you're an Aggie?
Yes,
there you
sir.
go. Great. Sometimes I do that, and I have a contentious a response. But
it's the other way if you were from another school.
Right, exactly. So
you might get asked to leave.
Yeah. So, well, just in this case, the only reason I bring it up is because grassroots independent governments. That's what ESDs are. So that's where the GIG comes in, and I'll reference that a little bit. I don't need to go through a full, presentation. I'm really just here. Joel brought me and Matt brought me to answer questions. And anything y'all might want to know. The thing that I do want to say is that I'm not here to push ESDs or sell ESDs. I don't know your community as well as y'all do, and it needs to be the right solution for your community. That's where that grassroots comes in, that first G. ESDs are created by the citizens by a petition brought to y'all, the county government, county commissioners court. And And what that petition is asking for is it's asking for them to have an election. So there's another layer of that grassroots. They bring a petition to y'all. Y'all have a public hearing on that petition to let people know their thoughts. And then y'all order a county election to have, it's essentially an ESD creation election to determine whether those ESDs, whether that ESD will be created. So basically the why of it, and Joel laid out a pretty good explanation of that. Emergency services districts, service is the middle name there. Emergency services, how do you want to provide your emergency services? At the core of what we're doing here is you have a service, a need for service, and somebody's got to provide it, somebody's got to pay for it. How do we figure out how to serve those people in these areas and make sure they're getting the best service possible? So that's ESDs are one way that we think works pretty well. Obviously, I'm an ESD guy, so we have about 375 across the state in different areas. They are governed by a board of commissioners, kind of like y'all. They call themselves commissioners too, but in Hunt County, they would be appointed by this body to basically, but that's where the independence comes in. Y'all appoint them, and then y'all kind of let them do their thing. And they set the tax rate, set their budget. Obviously, you have to adopt a budget before the tax rate. They're also responsible to y'all via an audit process. They have to be audited every single year and turn that into y'all, showing you all where all the money went and how it all worked. They are capped by the state constitution at 10 cents per $100 of valuation in terms of raw dollars. I know y'all know how ad valorem taxation works, but for anyone listening out there, 10 cents, and that's the max. They don't have to tax all the way at 10 cents. 10 cents per 100 on a house that's $250,000 is $250 a year on the tax bill. And so $100,000, $100 on the tax bill. And again, that's the maximum, and that's a state cap, constitutional cap, so they can't go over that no matter what. Subject to all the same laws y'all are subject to as a governmental entity, that's that last G. Open meetings and open records, all of that applies. Truth in taxation, all of that applies. They are public officials. They have to get their open meetings and Public Information Act training just like y'all do. And they are subject, the ESD commissioners, to 6 hours. Y'all have, what, 16, 17 hours a year, something like that? ESD commissioners have to get 6 hours in a 2-year period. And that usually tries to coincide and line up with their 2-year term, because that's what they serve. They serve a 2-year term, and then you can reappoint them. They are subject to removal by this body if they're not acting right, and those are statutory defined terms. Not acting right is actually incompetency, misconduct, or official misconduct. So there's a lot of information. I just want to pause right here and see if there's any questions on creating ESDs or anything y'all have.
So the court always controls the board.
Court appoints the board.
They have, and the terms are already set by the state law, or?
So how it would work is once the ESD is created, you would appoint three commissioners for a 1-year term and 2 commissioners for a 2-year term. It might be reversed. I'd have to look at the statute, but it's something. It staggers, and then they'd be 2-year terms there on out. You do 3 1 year, 2 the next year for 2 years on out.
But so, they are all approved by this court.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And there aren't any, there aren't any too many guidelines. Y'all are pretty free, and so people always ask me, should we get someone with emergency service experience? Well, that's not a bad thing to have, but also you want people who have, business experience. Sometimes if stations need to be constructed, it's good to have somebody with a construction background, accounting background. They don't have to be all emergency services, and they don't have to be all non-emergency services personnel.
They have to live in the district, though.
What's that?
Those,
yes.
Those members.
Okay, so that's a great question. So one of 2 boxes they have to check. They either have to be own property, taxable real property in the district, or they have to be a resident of the district, voter in the district. That is not the case for the petition that comes before you all to create. They have to check both of those boxes. They have to be own real taxable property in the district, and they have to be a voter in the district to sign that petition for creation. But only one of those boxes has to be checked to serve on the ESD board.
Okay. Have y'all already identified a boundary?
Yeah, we have our
Yeah, we would be just going for our district currently as it is, not for the whole county.
Okay.
And then also, there's timelines that we have to meet. If you were to approve it and everything check out, we would like to have it on the November ballot.
So you're talking about just the city limits, or the city and ETJ, or?
They're talking about.
Oh, the fire district.
The whole fire district, I'm sorry.
Okay,
The whole
okay, fire district.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But, yeah, and so there's the timelines we'd have to meet to, get the thing approved, the petition approved, and then all the boxes we have to check off to get it on the November ballot, so. Yeah.
And what do we have to have, 2 public hearings on it or something?
Just one.
Just
So
one? Okay.
basically, you'd work backwards. If they wanted to go on the November ballot, which is November 4th, I want to say, you count 78 days back. Y'all know that, right? You have to order an election. You have to be 78 days out. So that comes out to August. I looked it up today. I think it's like August 18th. So that's your deadline for this body to order the election. You have to have a public hearing, and that's a shell. If it's a valid petition, you have to have the public hearing. But once you have that, that public hearing has to have 3 weeks' notice. So you got to work backwards and make sure that you've got 3 weeks before at least that August deadline, and then you've got to have it, verified by the county clerk to make sure that the signatures are valid and everything's in order with the petition. So I've told, and I usually tell folks who are going to create on the November ballot, I usually say end of June is where you need to have things turned into your county, and that's with municipal consents. They have to have the consent of a city to include their ETJ or their city limits.
I assume our meeting would have to be in the district, the public meeting in the court. Daniel, do you know?
I don't know the answer to that. I assume so.
I actually don't think, that's a great question. I think the public hearing could be just like here, I think, even if it's not in the proposed ESD. I'm not sure, but your county attorney, I would rely on that.
It makes sense to me to be over there.
775, Health and Safety Code, Chapter 775 is sort of the ESD statute. It's the ESD enabling statute, so.
It makes more sense to be over there than having them here.
And that may be something, it may be a permissive thing that y'all want to have it over there.
So I get why you come to the county court, right, to get things going, the approval, the board appointments, all that. But Joel stood up and, said the city is acknowledging and recognizing the need as well. We have these conversations across the county. So where would the city, having a significant interest here, is there any role that the city has in this, or is it all just tied to the ESD board?
That's a great question. So the ESD would be obviously an independent governmental entity responsible for being good stewards of taxpayer money and providing the emergency services that they were created for to those citizens. What they would then do as a means of providing those services, they would need to sit down with whoever's operating the fire department. Joel, is that y'all? Yeah, so they would sit down with the city and say, okay, city, Caddo Mills, y'all have the fire department. We have citizens who need fire service and protection and suppression service. Let's hammer out a contract and a public document that says we're going to use this money that we're acquiring from the citizens for this particular service, a special purpose, and we'll do a contract for y'all to provide that service, just like you're hiring someone to mow your lawn or paint your house or anything like that, except in this case you're hiring a fire department to provide the service out into the county outside of the city of Caddo Mills.
If the city doesn't have to fund anything, but can it fund additional funding to it if necessary, if they chose to? Or they got to stay separate?
That's a good question. I usually the reason, I suppose they could if they were supplementing it. So you're talking about the ESD exists outside the city?
Yeah.
And can the city, the city would still be funding it anyway because they are the service provider. So they would still be funding their service, their department for the citizens of the city, and then the ESD would be providing the funding for outside.
Well, I assume they'd have a station or two or more in the city, but they'd have probably some outside the city for responses.
That's the cool thing about.
That's what I was trying to understand, how that works, if the city has obligations or if it all goes strictly to the ESD.
I would think the citizens.
Come up, Mike, man.
I would think if the citizens are paying.
Already,
cents,
yeah. But if they needed additional funding,
Well, I'm sure we would, because right now the problem is.
I need to know if you were prohibited. I think you
We're
would, but
funding-
are you
yeah,
prohibited?
We're funding $500,000 to our fire department, probably
Right.
more than all of them combined in this county. And you guys are funding 60,000. And we appreciate that.
Almost $1 million across the county.
Okay. I'm not worried about the rest of the county.
Yeah, I
I'm worried
understand.
about Cattle Mills. And so it's a hardship for us. And, you know, we want to take care of our firefighters. And we have the best around. And so this is, I mean, you heard what Joel said on the options. We don't have a whole lot of options.
Right. No, I understand that.
So
I'm
we
just,
have to-
I'm trying to
yeah, we have
understand
to
how.
figure- We don't know, because we have to figure that out as we go. I mean, we own quite a bit of the stuff. The fire department has purchased some on their own with grants and stuff. So we'd have to see what that looks like down the road.
So to be clear, so the city, the fire department, and ESD, if it were to pass, are all separate entities. So you may own some of the machines and
Yeah, we would-
equipment that the fire department uses, but they're a separate entity, and they're contracting with you. And so, to your point, an ESD, if formed, would have the option, one of several options, to contract with the existing fire department, which is also contracting with the city, but they're separate obligations and agreements.
Yeah, we'd probably donate the equipment that we own to the ESD.
I was gonna say, and so the volunteer firefighters, would they just go away, or would they continue to own and have people? How's that work? It's up to them, or?
So, yeah, you could set it up, to your point, so I guess I misunderstood, that the VFD is an independent entity contracting with the city.
Yeah.
So in that case, the ESD could actually sit down with just the VFD. Do you have a board at the VFD, or is it the city kind of functioning? Okay, so yes, they could contract. The department remains an independent entity. I mean, there are some cases down the line where the ESD says, okay, well, we have the wherewithal now to provide the service, but that probably likely wouldn't happen with Caddo Mills already. That would probably more likely happen with the city than the ESD. But no, to your question, Judge, the VFD remains an independent entity, just contracting their service
If it
out
chooses to.
If it chooses to.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Help me with that if it chooses to, because I was under the impression when you went to ESD, you could have a hybrid and things with volunteer, but I was thinking the volunteer fire department kind of gets absorbed as the ESD.
Not necessarily. I mean, again, so where I live and grew up is Pflugerville, Texas, down in Travis County. They started out with the Pflugerville Volunteer Fire Department. They created Travis County ESD number 2. Over years, we now have 80,000 people in just Pflugerville, and we're probably going to have 100,000 here before 2030. They have grown to the point where the ESD did do that. They took over. They now have a 150-something person fully paid career department. But that's not, that's one instance. You can still have, I still have ESDs down in Henderson County, which I think is somewhere kind of close to here, where they just operate independently. The VFD is its own thing. They still have their VFD board. The VFD board sits down with the ESD, full autonomy with the VFD. They don't, and it's merely a funding entity, like a MUD would fund a water service or something from a city. You know, it's
So
it's
the ESD
independent.
board just replaces the commissioner's board as far as how the funding is allocated.
For that specific area, right? Yeah. So
And we no longer fund our money to it.
And a dedicated funding source, with the taxes. But the ESD, even if they were contracting with existing Caddo Mills department, would be able to build facilities, purchase equipment, maybe build something up by 380, for instance, to try and cut response times down, contribute to staffing challenges, so we have 24/7 staffing at stations. That's the point of the ESD. Even if they don't employ firefighters per se, but are contracting with an existing department.
And that's a proven concept. We've seen that in instances where the ESD comes along, and yes, they build a station outside of the city because they wouldn't want to build a city-owned station outside of the city necessarily, because that's serving, those folks aren't paying in. In this case, in the ESD could then say, okay, well, we're representing the taxpayers. We're going to build a taxpayer-owned station, fire station, for better service out into this area of the county that would be better served that way. I mean, again, trying to provide the service in the best way possible for the taxpayers is what we're trying to do here.
Well, is there a study being done, or will there be a study about how it'll affect the insurance rates? Will it help lower the insurance rates out in the county and city, I guess?
We've seen it. I can't promise it because sometimes not to get too into the weeds, but there's this thing called the public protection classification. Sometimes it's called the ISO rating because the ISO is the agency that does it. And it's on a 10-to-1 basis. 10 is not very good fire protection at all. 1 is the best fire protection you can have. And the insurance companies use that rating. So the closer you are to a 1, the lower the rating, the more they can knock off your homeowner's insurance premiums. We've seen it. We've seen ESDs get down to class 1s. And that's real in fact, more savings in terms of homeowners insurance premiums than they actually are paying into the tax for the ESD. We've seen that. Can't promise it because sometimes there's, like I say, larger issues, water supply, that kind of thing. It's a formula that they use, the ISO office uses. But we have seen that kind of thing happen. But I wouldn't be able to, your operational personnel would be better equipped to speak to that.
So I assume maybe if it was in the city limits of Caddo, and they had better fire flow in their water system, they'd get one rating, and if it's outside on a rural water supply that didn't have fire flow in their lines, it could be a different. So you could have different ISO ratings.
Yes, sir, Judge. That's currently what we have right now. Within the city limits and 10 road miles outside of the city limits from the fire station, we have an ISO class of 4. That was a study that I did back in 2019. We went from an 8 to a 4 with just the equipment that we've been able to purchase, and then some of the city improvement with the water flow and all that, and some training goes into that, staffing goes into that, trucks that you have, equipment that you have. So anything outside of 10 road miles from the station currently right now is still at a 10. There's nothing we can do about that until we build further fire stations. We have more water supply out in the rural areas, but we can also supplement that water supply with water tankers and different apparatus to kind of not fudge the equation, but to put different pieces into the equation to make those fire flows happen. More staffing, more training, qualified, certified personnel, all that goes into those.
How many water districts are in y'all's area? Several?
3? Yeah, 3.
3
currently right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
So, who covers the ETJ of Royce City? Does Royce, or the Royce city limits, I guess, they cover it, and outside of it, do y'all cover it, or is
They
Royce
cover
City?
a little bit of their ETJ, and then we also cover a little bit of their ETJ. So down 66, coming east towards Caddo, we cover a little bit of their ETJ. They cover a little bit. They took up to the highway on 1565,
right?
So they have the majority of that, or they have all of that now. But South Fork and that stuff over there, we still cover. And honestly, all that is as far as redrawn district lines and maps, which we've talked about at the county chiefs meetings plenty of times, of actually redrawn district maps to where they're actually through properties, which was what we would have to do. It's the legwork on our end as far as the ESD goes, redrawn district lines to make sure that they're encompassing actual property lines, not running through Brushy Creek and down south towards Cash.
Has there any been a discussion with Royce City or of them playing a part of this or anything, or does it make any sense too?
Is there any ETJ included in this district other than Caddo Mills?
It would be Royce City's ETJ, a little bit, Josephine's ETJ, again, a small portion of that, and then Greenville's ETJ.
So
y'all got agreed lines with some of those, don't you? Agreed, sort of. Okay.
So for the public's information, correct me if I'm wrong.
They got agreed with Greenville, but not the others.
The county's role in this is to receive a proper petition, validate it, hold a public hearing, and hold the election there, and also facilitate some parts of the process, such as notifying any cities with an ETJ in this proposed district, and they would have a period of time, I believe 60 days, to choose whether to opt in or opt out, and so there would be decisions that they would need to make. So the county's role is not to advocate whether this is a desirable solution. That's for the voters to decide. We are here to facilitate the election. and information process.
But we're going to get asked a lot of questions.
Oh, correct. And that's where the information part is, and that's the public hearing.
That's awesome that because sometimes I have to explain that. There are two prongs, basically, I mean, when you boil them down, that y'all are supposed to decide with regards to granting a petition for election, and it's feasibility, can this work, and does it benefit the general health, safety, and welfare of the proposed territory? So can it work, and would it make things better if it does work? Again, that's kind of the test that y'all have to go through when deciding on whether to grant the petition or not.
So at the time of the petition or at the time of vote, you made reference 2 or 3 times that, well, it could be this way or it could be that way. Does that have to be defined at that moment in time?
No, sir.
It comes after there's a board and everything after the fact?
The mandate on the ESD board is to provide the services and be good stewards of taxpayer money. So whatever way that, and the reality is, you know, we have this joke, you know, you've seen one ESD, you've seen one ESD, because we have ESDs that are ambulance ESDs, and they have different set of parameters that they have to do. And we have ESDs that are contracting just independently with a VFD. We have those ESDs that are almost indistinguishable from a major municipal fire department, like where I live down in Travis County. So there's a lot of different ways, and it really is, look, people ask me, what's the secret? What's the secret to a successful ESD? And I say 5 good souls. Can you find 5 folks to serve on that ESD board who are willing to help their community? It's not a glamorous position. It's not, you know, there's a stipend of up to $7,200 a year, which is the most, and a lot of ESD commissioners don't take that because, especially when they're a smaller ESD, lower revenue ESD. It's not a stepping stone to higher office. It's just, can you find those 5 folks who are willing, honest, community servant hearts, you know, that will they serve their community? If you find those 5 good folks, you're set.
But it's really focused on what kind of money is needed, how do you establish the rate, how that's issued and managed, and the accountability piece, but not performance of the organization.
You mean like at
response times and training and keeping up with all that? Is the board, do they own that?
Okay. So, what I usually say there is it's not the ESD board's job to tell Chief how to tell Chief how to run his operations. Yep. That's not he runs the calls. He figures out operational, but what he needs does matter to the ESD board because he has to go and say, here's what I need, and they have to decide, is that something that benefits the taxpayers? So yes, you're exactly right there.
I'm just trying to think, you know, there has to be some accountability to the public, right?
Right.
That this is what has to be done and what's expected, right?
Exactly, and all that is done again in public meeting and in public, all the documents are public documents. So.
And ultimately, if the court were dissatisfied with the performance of a member of the ESD board, it would be within our authority to replace them on a regular basis.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, 2-year terms.
2 years if you just don't like them, but there are for actual misconduct or not doing their job. You can replace them immediately.
Correct.
For the
quick clarification because we'll immediately start receiving this type of question. So the maximum tax rate is a 10 cents per $100 valuation. Per the election, at the election, it designates it could technically designate a lower rate than that. But if it elects to have an election with proposing the maximum rate of 10 cents, the ESD is not obligated to set a 10 cent per $100 valuation if the needs were not there. They could operate underneath it. But if you set the rate lower, you'd have to go have another election if you ever were to raise the rate. Is that correct?
So there's the constitutional cap rate of 10 cents, but there's also something that's called an authorized rate. And you're right. At the ballot point, they could choose to put on the ballot a lower authorized rate, 5 cents, 6 cents, what have you. You're absolutely correct. If then they're hitting their head on the 6 cents 10 years from now or whatever, then they have to go back to the public and say, we'd like to raise now to 10 cents or whatever. So yes, they'd have to do that. And even if they did set it at 10 cents, they could choose to the board could set the rate at 7 cents or lower, some lower figure. In that case, they would be subject, and I'm sure y'all are familiar with Senate Bill 2 from 2019, the 3.5% voter approval rate. That their ESDs are subject to all the same stuff that y'all are on that level. So they would have that problem.
One more question. They're a little bit ahead of us in the process, but going through the same issues over in Collin County in the eastern part, unincorporated areas.
I'm aware.
We hear about that a lot on social media and elsewhere. I saw that and maybe this is a better question for their court. I saw that their court adopted a statement of principles, and this kind of goes back to your question you had earlier, Commissioner Smith. And this statement of principles laid out kind of what principles they wanted to guide the process and the creation of this ESD. To your knowledge, is that a binding? Any kind of you can't bind a new ESD to statement of principles. That was something they just put out voluntarily to guide the process and its creation. Is that your understanding?
So I'm not familiar with I have heard of the Collin County effort. I haven't had any conversations. I know they're kind of trying to do a county-wide for the entire unincorporated area in their county. What it sounds like you're talking about is this is more sort of a non-binding, this is what we're going to look to, because that is the question y'all are going to get asked. Y'all are in charge. People say, okay, well, they say, they're saying they're only going to need to tax at 7 cents. How do we enforce that? Well, y'all are the ones who would have to appoint an ESD board with the understanding of, the public is expecting a certain tax rate of this kind of thing, or the public is expecting you to adhere to these standards. So I don't think it can be binding on the ESD, but again, with y'all's jurisdiction over the ESD board to appoint those individuals, that's where you have some say in that process, because there is like I said, there is not very much in that statute about what you have to consider in terms of appointing individuals. So it's up to you to find the 5 best folks.
So it may not be binding, but it helps guide our process as we potentially select people to sit on that board.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So the ESD is just strictly for fire protection. It doesn't cover the EMS part, correct? Okay. And then if this ESD does go through, the Commissioner's Court has control of that board forever, or does that go away after the first board is elected, or what's the control there?
As far as appointing, you would appoint them in perpetuity unless the legislature decided to make a change there, as they have in Harris County, Houston. Those commissioners are elected, and a couple other counties they've decided, but those were specific instances where the county said we want to do this differently. So those commissioners are elected. Otherwise, Travis County, Bexar County, Henderson County, Parker County, they're all appointed.
Okay. And then the ESD board is basically, they're just there to control the tax dollars, how it's spent. And it would be Steve Stead would still be running his department. He would just have to submit a budget to the ESD board, and then the ESD board approves or disapproves that he gets the money.
Precisely. So the ESD board would have to set a budget for that governmental entity and the tax rate that's justified by that budget. Chief Stead would come to them and like I said, there probably would be a contract. If they're independent entities, they would probably need to get a contract that says this is what we expect of you for the money that we're giving to you. If they were the sewer service provider, then it would be more like what you're talking about, where the fire chief would come, present his budget or her budget, just like y'all have a county sheriff probably that has to come and do their budget in front of y'all. That happens in other areas, but in this case, I believe it would remain independent, where they would do a more contract thing, and then that would go into the ESD budget that they would have to approve in a public meeting.
So I apologize. I know we're hitting you with a million questions.
That's my job.
It's really knowledge acquisition more than
it's totally
anything.
fine.
So, so trying to think through. So this would be precedent setting for us, and I don't mean that in a good or bad way. It'll just be a new precedence of, and you probably have heard we were evaluating emergency services in our county. As we look at a growing county, things have to change. That's why Caddo raised their hands, right? Mm-hmm. And so, just from an ignorance standpoint, so today all the volunteer fire departments still work cross, all the lines whenever there's help needed and all that. If one of them is funded by ESD, so taxpayer dollars, does that change that, limit that in any way? Does it, make them have to plan and manage fires differently?
So the short answer, if I just wanted to keep it short, would be no, because departments can still have all their mutual aid and auto aid and whatever, that would still remain. So no. Now, the larger concept is the ESD cannot use ESD taxpayer funds to respond to non-ESD people without getting some sort of reimbursement. However, mutual aid, that's the idea behind mutual aid. So that all remains the
So
same.
if Chief Steed has to run to Tawakoni because there's something massive going on down there.
Yeah, no, that's.
There's not an issue, but it sounds like, but there would be.
No.
If he was scheduled to do that, it would be reimbursable, but if it's emergency mutual aid, he would not be limited.
Well, right, he wouldn't be limited. I'll just use the example of TIFMAS. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid System, but they're the state. Whenever we have the wildfires, TIFMAS has sent folks out to California. ESDs participate in that freely. In fact, we're a huge part of TIFMAS, a growing part of TIFMAS now. That's all fine. So the mutual aid stuff doesn't get affected. He would still be able to run all the calls into the county, whatever.
And then after that, so the petition, right? So that's, from my understanding, that's kind of the critical point, right? It has to be done correctly, provided all that. That is often a stumbling point. Are you contracted with these folks to help them put that together?
No, sir. We can't, I'm not authorized by my board to do the legwork. I can answer questions, I can be a resource, but in terms of actually I often give, at that point, I give them sort of names of ESD attorneys who have done this, and some ESD attorneys will do this. I'm sure they have a city attorney probably that can maybe help that out if they're going to get engaged on that level. But that's not something my organization really does in actually creating the ESD. I'll come up here and answer questions, and if they have a town hall, I'll probably be able to come back up and answer questions, but I don't do the actual, that part of it.
So I assume that, to follow up with kind of what Gary's saying, I assume that the court could continue to give funding to that ESD as we do to the city of Greenville for mutual aid help out in the county if we chose to do that, and that wouldn't violate anything.
I'm not aware of any reason that would be a violation.
But it's kind of similar, wouldn't it be, Daniel? Yeah.
You would definitely be able to do that, the same kind of contract that you got with Greenville. This wouldn't change that.
And that would allow the board, the ESD board, to make sure it's allocated to where the most need is.
Right. Correct.
Now, if this ESD is created, say Caddo Mills Fire District, okay? If you want to, say Union Valley, they're the closest one over there. If they want to join in on that ESD, can they piggyback on that, or do you have to go ESD 2 and then have a whole separate board, or can they just expand ESD 1 and go under that same board, or how does that work?
Either, basically. If it's in the best interest, they can present a petition, but in this case, it's to the ESD board because they're already established. There's a method for an ESD to consensually annex. So if they got enough signatures, and you said Union Valley?
Union Valley.
Union Valley, if they got enough signatures, if they said, hey, we like what's happening over there, we want to join this district, they could get a petition together, present that to the ESD board, and then have an election that has to pass, just like consent annexation for a city, has to pass in both the area and the current ESD and the area to be annexed in. But yes, they could join. Alternatively, they could theoretically come back to y'all with Hunt County ESD number 2 and anybody could do, Commerce,
Yeah,
Greenville, they could all do the same thing.
Okay.
And I certainly think one of the concerns as you start having this conversation about how far, whether it's annexation or somebody else wants to do their own, is making sure we don't leave pockets that don't have coverage from a county standpoint, because it feels like you could tie it to the cities that can afford it or have growing needs, and then the next thing you know, you've got this area covered and you've got this 3 square miles that's left out.
Could we require them to join? If they were going to create a new one, could we require them to have to join that other one so we don't leave those voids?
I think that would be an annexation. You couldn't make them legally do it. I wouldn't think.
I would say that's kind of, you couldn't.
We could encourage them at least.
That's probably a better way of putting it. It'd be on an ad hoc basis. It'd say, hey, this little area, you know, we think you should join this, or we think maybe it'd be in your best interest to, you know, be in the creation originally or something. You're right. You don't want to leave little pockets
Be a
of
nightmare.
areas, but
Yeah.
but you have that kind of already done through your fire districts that you already have carved out. Now, like Chief said, there may be a need to.
I could just certainly see parts of the county who says no to the vote, and then other parts of the county who say yes to the vote, and then you have those voids. That was the concern.
Well, and I should say to this, and you'll need your attorney on this part, because that's when you're dealing with municipalities, one of the checks on the process is that municipalities obviously have to give their consent to have the inclusion of their city limits or their ETJ, but also during the election process, that area, those ballots have to be counted separately in the sense that it has, so Caddo Mills ETJ, it has to pass overall in the Caddo Mills ETJ as well as overall. If it passes overall in the district, but it fails by like a couple votes in Caddo Mills ETJ or Roy City ETJ, if they're going in on this, or then that area, that ETJ is out.
Wow, so we'd have to create whole new voting districts to be able to do that?
The elections people, I think, can do that. I mean, they know where the ETJ is. It's just a matter of making sure that they count them, keep them separate at the counting part of it.
Yeah, you'd have to create new districts, but not new voting locations.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Who's gonna get us a calendar to know when we gotta do all of this? Is y'all gonna do that, or is Daniel? Okay, all right.
I've got some literature, a couple brochures that we've made in my card. I'll just pass them out to y'all, so you can contact me if there's any.
Thank you for all the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, action item number 7, a change order amendment to add the GIS services and remove the ArcGIS desktop software. Virginia, you want to tell us what in the world you're talking about?
So what this is it's just a change order to our existing Tyler Technologies contract to remove ArcGIS Pro. In the original contract, they included that into the pricing. It was $7,700 for that license fee. And I guess Tyler and ArcGIS aren't friends anymore, so they're not providing that service. So they're taking that $7,700 off, and I'm wanting to add the $6,200 for the GIS onto it. For this first year.
Is that Tyler's GIS?
Yes, I know me and you have talked about this.
Okay.
So the GIS stuff, I'd like to do it for the first year with all the radio stuff and everything. I just haven't had the 4 years of education to take care of that GIS software.
Right.
So I wanted to do it for the first year so I can get that foundation set. And then once I get that foundation, then the data that I get from our GIS coordinator in Hunt County, the appraisal district, from them, then I'll be able to maintain that with the information I get from the COG as well. But building the foundation of it and merging those data sets is quite extensive.
So Tyler doesn't offer, they won't support it even if we have it on our own, the ArcGIS?
Yeah, so we did purchase ArcGIS.
Okay.
I do have the software to do
But
that.
they
We
won't
had to
support it,
purchase-
they won't let it link to their system anymore?
Yes, sir. They're just not providing the service. We had to go directly to Esri to get that software, and we've already done that.
Okay.
So and it was actually a whole lot cheaper to just go directly to Esri. I think it came out like $4,000. So
It's gotten a lot cheaper through the years.
yeah, so we're just taking that off the contract because Tyler is not providing
Got
us
it.
that
Okay.
software. So we
Got it.
got that software over here from Esri directly.
Okay.
And then adding the GIS onto it is just that their GIS team will take our data and merge it the way it needs to be to work for public safety.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval?
So move.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 8, County Judge's Office filing a claim with the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts for unclaimed capital credits pursuant to Local Government Code 381.004 and Texas Property Code 74.602. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 9, approve participating entity services agreement for statewide automated victim notification services between Hunt County and Logistics.gov.inc, I guess. Entertain a motion for approval.
So
Make
moved.
motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 10, approve Health Department, Environmental Department of State Health Services, Regional Local Services System, Local Public Health System grant contract for fiscal year 26-27. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 11, proposal to upgrade our AT&T internet and phone services at the courthouse and sheriff's department. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 12, to discuss and possibly take action on the covered parking lot leased by Hunt County. I think we'll do that in executive session before we take action on this. Action item 13, resolution approving road damage contract with Oil and Gas Company Guardian Operating LLC covering potential damage to County Road 4203 during upcoming drilling project. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 14, the 2025 annual road report for Precinct 2.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 15, the request for permission to do work within the county right-of-way along the east end of Church Street. We're looking to do a drop bore from the pole on FM 2194 to the poles on Church Street under normal stipulations in Precinct 1.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Got a question.
Question?
On that FM, is that FM 2194? Is that,
Correct.
Okay.
They're connecting in our right away. That's where the connection
okay.
is. That's their asking permission.
okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 16, the request for permission to complete work across County Road 2594. This is a 75-foot underground lateral cross to connect existing fiber on the pole. All underground road crossings have a minimum vertical clearance of 3 feet under normal stipulations in Precinct 2.
Make a motion to approve construction under normal stipulation.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 17, the request to construct electrical power distribution facilities which will cross Meadow Lark Lane under normal stipulations in Precinct 3.
Make a motion to approve under normal stipulations.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 18, widening only of County Road 3513 for a width of 6 feet from dirt to rock to oil sand, approximately 666 feet in length in Precinct 3. Money is in escrow.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The upgrade of approximately 1,400 feet on County Road 4509 from dirt to rock in Precinct 4. Money is in escrow.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 20, an application for a change of zoning from single-family 40, single-family residential district to C-1 light commercial district with a specific use permit of approximately 10.73 acres located at a TBD FM 429, parcel ID number 114400, Quinlan, Texas 75474, for the purposes of creating a wellness in a retreat center. Brian, did I get all that right?
I think so. We're going to go with it.
I think we need to send you to the Wellness and Retreat Center, Judge.
I guarantee you, I need to go.
So the developers came to me several months back with an idea of creating this retreat center down there. This is right next to Water's Edge on 429, just before you get out of the county into Kaufman. Went through the Lake Tawakoni Zoning Commission last week, and they made a recommendation for approval. There was one neighbor who came and spoke about it, not necessarily against it, but just spoke about it. He was concerned about it because he's got a large tract of land, and they like to participate in all kinds of country events that involve guns and shooting and duck hunting and everything else. And he was concerned, wanted to make sure that the developers understood that it might not be much of a retreat certain times of the year when you got 12 gauges blasting off behind you, but all the same.
Brian, curious, was that, I guess that was documented at the zoning committee?
It was.
Okay.
So that was the only neighbor who showed up to speak about it. And there again, it wasn't necessarily against or for. It was more of a neighborly warning. But the commission down there did make a recommendation for approval for the zoning change with the SUP and with the specific use permit. That way they can't go in and say, hey, you know what, the Wellness and Retreat Center isn't going to work. We're going to put in a manufacturing facility instead. If it doesn't follow the use of the specific use permit, then it reverts back to the single-family residential.
All right.
So
was that the only real conversation around from the zoning committee's the SUP?
That was it. That was it. They were concerned. They want to make sure that this thing doesn't go into doesn't turn into a boat store or something else. They were okay with the Wellness and Retreat Center since it is somewhat of a residential district. That use doesn't seem to be too intrusive to the existing neighbors. So.
Daniel, I mean, this is for a change of zone and then a special use permit. Do we have to have two separate public hearings, or can do it all in one?
All one.
All one, okay. All right, at this time, I'll open up to a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against this request, please come forward, state your name and address.
Now, the developers are here. Do they need to speak after the fact, or?
It's up to them.
It's up to them, okay.
Being none, you want to speak? Come forward and state your name, address for us, please.
Good morning, Judge.
You're going to have to pull the mic down a little bit. There you go.
Yeah, good morning, Judge, and good morning, Commissioners, and good morning, everybody here. I'm glad to present my proposal of building a retreat center named Swasti at that location on FM 429. And we want to build a retreat center where we could bring in community visitors to the area and provide wellness, healing through yoga, through meditation, and Ayurveda. So just to brief about Ayurveda is a 5,000 years old healing practice which involves harmony, which focuses on harmony of body, mind, and spirit, and which would, help in developing, restoring balance. There's so much stress out there with our day-to-day work and taking care of our lives and personal things. So I feel that, the community around and the visitors would need some sort of, way for connecting to nature, reconnecting to nature, getting back to an physical, mental, and emotional balance and healing. So, with Ayurveda, we provide a specialized diet, internal cleansing, some sort of herb and meditation and yoga. Through these activities, it is going to help with the well-being of the community and the visitors. So we are going to open this facility of, the dining and also the treatment or the Ayurvedic practices to visitors as a walk-in and also the residents in the community.
Okay. Is it currently got a facility on a building or of any type, or is it vacant and there's going to be buildings added to it, or?
So sorry.
In my East Texas.
Yeah, it's currently vacant. If there's something there, is there a barn or an old house?
No, nothing is there. It's just raw land.
You going to build something on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your packet there, I gave their letter of
Intent.
intent and their map and survey.
Okay.
Kind of showing what they're wanting to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, what sort of a septic is going to be required? Are all the little cabins going to have septic, or?
It'll have a septic system that will be very similar to an RV park or a tiny home community mobile home park. Obviously, with all the different cabins, they all have to have septic. With the different facilities, they have to have septic. So it'll be an on-site septic system. Now, there is some sewer in the area. In the subdivision next door and across the road, there's sewer. That would be a discussion for them to have with the sewer operator, who's the Savvy River Authority, if they could tie into that, if they could lift to it or something. But something like this may be a little bit better suited for just a big sewer system on their site to handle their stuff, their individual site.
Gotcha.
And just to add, we met SRA authorities right before 8th on, I think, on 7th, and they proposed that they also suggested to connecting to the sewer on that side.
They would allow you to?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judge, and thank you, everyone.
Anyone else want to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Brian, you got anything else? Or?
No, that's
All right.
pretty much it.
Entertain a motion for approval.
Make the motion for the zoning change.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Action number 21, an application for change of zoning from agricultural district to SF40 single-family residential, minimum 1 acre lots of approximately 12.64 acres located on County Road 3521, being tract 50-3 in the William Fanning Survey, abstract 319, Quinlan, Hunt County, Texas, for the purpose of subdividing the property into 9 residential lots.
Okay, this one also went to Lake Tawakoni Zoning Commission last week, and they supported the zoning change. One neighbor came and was concerned. She has a pretty large farm across the road. She was concerned if it would affect her use zoning and things such as that, and I told her no, it just affected this property. This is in the area that's south of Club Lake, south of 1564, kind of on the east side of Wheeland proper. Kind of a mixed bag of uses in that area. You've got some smaller lot residential. You've got some medium, your 3 to 5 acre kind of country lots, and then you've got big farms and big hay meadows, and so there's not really any one standard in that area, for how the land is used. It's a pretty hot area as far as development and people wanting to come in and do things, and this is right on the edge of the zoning.
Okay. Any questions before we have public hearing? All right, this time I'll open it up to a public hearing. If anybody who wishes to speak for or against this item, please come forward, state your name and address. Being none, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the zoning change.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 22, acceptance of public improvements for Wood Creek addition and adding the street into precinct 3 road inventory, Road Creek Drive, 0.38 miles.
Yeah, this is This is just the technicality of finishing up on a subdivision that was done a couple of years ago. This will be accepting the road into inventory to put it on the inventory for Brittany and for Commissioner Smith.
We've already
to-
accepted the road before, though. Just didn't
That's
put it to
correct.
inventory.
That's correct. This is the end of the road bond. This is the last step, so,
Okay.
for this subdivision.
All right. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 23, the civil plans for Commerce RV Park, AKA Wayne Wildlife Reserve RV Park.
Okay, this is up in Precinct 4, up off of Highway 11, just north of Commerce. The civil plans have been reviewed and concerns addressed, and there's a letter from our engineering representative stating that they meet our engineering standards.
Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 24, the replat of RN Merrington Acres Number 2 in Precinct 2.
Okay, simple lot, had road frontages on two ends of it, and they're cutting it in half, creating a lot on the south and a lot on the north. It is a replat, so it'll
Yeah,
have to have
public hearing. All right, any questions? This time I'll open it up to a public hearing. Anybody wishes to speak for or against this, please come forward, state your name and address. Being none, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second?
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Final plat of Sunset Farms in Precinct 3.
This is the plat for the last zoning change, the ag to single family. This is the plat that accompanies that.
Okay. Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 26, the final amended plat of Elizabeth Estates Phase 3 in Precinct 3.
This is addressing some Scribner's errors from the surveyor. He left off some bearing distances and
Some pertinent facts.
pertinent stuff that you kind of need to rebuild the plat.
Yeah. All right. Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 27, the preliminary plat of Apex Edition Precinct 4.
Okay, and this one will actually be the final plat, not the preliminary plat. The surveyor tagged it as preliminary on their drawing. On the final drawing, it'll obviously have to be final.
Oh, okay.
Actually got an email from the developer late yesterday with a copy of the check for the road improvement around. So the check's in the mail. As soon as we get the check and we get everything done, we'll have the escrow agreement coming back in front of you. And at that point in time, then I'll bring you the final copy to sign and for recording.
Okay.
So I'd recommend a conditional on receiving that check and getting that done.
All right, so, but we're approving it as a final plat, not a preliminary.
As a final.
All right, so I entertain a motion to approve action item 27 as a final plat, conditioned on the escrow money being placed for the road upgrades.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Is there anything else before the court today? Daniel, all of them? All right. Entertain a motion to go in executive session under items 1 through 5.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
did we have old business as far as indigent burials or?
We're going to discuss it in executive session, and then we'll have to come out of it.
I'll make a motion, move to executive session.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It's 11:49, and we're in executive session.
We're staying in here.
And I will probably go back there. Let's see, did I go? Tell me when we're up.
We're live.
We live? Okay. All right, it's now 1:31. We're back in regular session. Commissioners, under item 12, to discuss possibly take action on the covered parking lot leased by Hunt County. Entertain a motion to terminate the lease on that effective end of the month.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to settle the lawsuit with Encore as presented.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Daniel?
All right, and then the other item on the agenda, the Greenville Housing Authority. You could do this in 4 separate actions or all in one. But a motion that you could possibly make would be to authorize my firm to file a lawsuit against the Greenville Housing Authority related to the establishment of the Public Facilities Corporation.
So can we make that motion now as you go?
You can wait till I say that all, and then somebody can make a motion to do all of that.
Okay.
So number one would be filing a suit against the Greenville Housing Authority for its recent actions related to the Public Facility Corporation to approve engagement letters with my firm and with Baker Watering and with Michael Sankey for that purpose.
That's all of it?
That would be all it would be, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have in my notes that we needed to do.
That's all I
go back
had.
to all the.
No, well, he talked to him about it. There's nothing to settle on that today.
Yeah, that needs to go back on old business for next time.
As far as I know, that's everything. Anybody else?
Yeah, nothing to exchange.
That's my notes. Okay?
Mine too. And there's no other public comments on email.
Okay, anything else before the court today? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 1:34. Thank y'all. Have a good day.